Hey everyone, wanted to put out a video. It's been a little while and talk about a pretty substantial update that came from the AnyType team recently. They released it via the pre-release channel, and obviously it'll be coming to release very soon, so everyone can expect it to come down the pipe in the relatively near future. And that update they called primitives. And my take, just reading between the lines in terms of why they called it primitives, is these are really kind of the foundational pieces that are associated with AnyType, and understanding how these foundational pieces work will help you get the most out of the software, at least in my opinion. So there really is kind of the primitive, the primitive and foundational pieces that make AnyType what it is. And so, just really quickly in this video, I want to walk through, types, kind of the updated mental model for types, properties, which previously was relations, and the different places. The way I think of it is the different places that those properties can kind of live. There's the object header, there's the properties menu, hidden, local, and again, we'll cover those. And then how types relate to layouts and also how they relate to templates. So let's dive into it. To give everyone a sense, and really just a sense of the landscape, lay of the land, I put together this very, very, very simple diagram. And so when you look at this, what I want people to take away is that type is really the most foundational element. That's where you're starting. We're all familiar with type. I mean, it's in the name of the company. But types are, of course, listed here. So you can have a various different types of objects. So as an example, for myself and for my space, I created one particular type called video content down here that you can see. And so when you click here, you can obviously see the different objects that are contained or that are of the type video content. Right? These are all just kind of videos, video ideas that I have that I may have made in the past and want to make in the future. And then now you can edit the type, and you can also edit the templates that are contained within that type. So real quick, going back to this diagram, you've got a type, great. And then you also have properties that are associated directly with the type. You've got the layout is determined by the type, but then you can have multiple templates within a type. So for example, jumping to the template piece, because I think that's kind of the main outlier in terms of, everything's associated directly with the types, except for templates, you can have multiple templates associated with any particular type. And I just want to show an example of that. So if we go back home and we're just creating a new, we've got an idea for a video, and it's going to be understanding types part 2. And you can see here, this is the editing status, and it's because it's going to be a longer video and I'm going to have to edit it afterwards. And, I want to make sure that this is about whatever primitives, just kind of making some things up so you can see that there's data here in the different properties. And however, you can imagine a world where you also want to create another video. So let's go back. We're going to create a third one, and it's actually going to be some short form content that just kind of promotes the longer video that I'm planning on making. And so I have a different template here within the type video content type. And so when I apply that, you can see now it has social media channels. So a completely different property is showing up in the template. And just switch back forth just to show everybody what that looks like. Obviously, it could be any number of properties that change in and out, but to keep it simple, I just changed the one. And so now this is my short video template, just to make it very clear for everybody. And that has social media channels, and I'm going to put it out on Instagram, and I could have any other number of properties there. So that's the difference, really. Everything else is associated directly with the type. However, templates can have multiple templates within that type. Just to cover the basics as well, for clarity, relations are now properties, sets are now queries. Hopefully people have covered that or kind of understood that. The team has started updating that language and announced it, etc. already. But just want to make sure to call that out because it's obviously crucial, and I'll be using the new naming conventions moving forward. So let's cover this in a little more detail. So you have properties that are associated with types. And what does that mean? It means when you go and you open up this, any given object, you can now have a properties panel on the right, and you can set up those properties. And you can see here now it looks very different. It's a lot cleaner, but you also have a couple different sections where your properties sit. So you can have properties sit up in the object header, just how they used to when you used to star them. And now it shows video content is that's the object type for that object, obviously, right there in the header. And then these are the ones in the properties menu. So when I save that, you can see them here. This is the properties menu. It's the same exact ones: name, description, editing status, status 2, priority, answer. And those are as well. I don't need status 2. Frank, I already have the editing status, so let's hide that one and save it. And then now you can see status 2 is missing from that menu, or hidden from that menu. And if I ever need it again, you just show more, show less. And that's the hidden section down here. And then the local properties is probably the most unique out of these kind of property sections. So I want to touch on that. So as you guys probably all saw, I have a number of videos, right? So there's quite a few example videos here of different things I've made. And when I want to add something, so let's create a new one. Let's say the next video, it's, moving my entire life into any type, all my data. And I want to show that process of how I do that. Great. So now, as you can expect, this object got created according to the default template, which is a long video template. I added the object type to the header, so that's showing up now there too, because I added that a moment ago. Obviously, if I wanted to switch it to a short video template, you would see that change. So those are the templates there. And then let's say I'm just considering this, I want to add it to my personal collection. So here's my personal collection, and actually I need to start tracking some other properties. And again, this is all an example of local properties and how they work. So for example, you can see right now the only local property is the mood. And if I go over here and add an additional property, let's say it's the area of my life. So area is now associated with the personal collection. However, area is not associated with this object. However, I add this object to my personal collection, and still nothing has changed. However, as soon as I make a change in that property, now it's a whatever personal area. Go over here again, and now you're going to see that it's added to the local properties, because this is effectively a property that has been added solely to that object. And in this instance, it's added to that object only because I added that object to a collection, then gave that property a value, etc. So that's really far down the weeds, but I just wanted to illustrate the fact that you do still have the ability to add specific properties to specific objects. It doesn't all have to be at the type level, but obviously the team has decided that the best path forward is to, kind of steer users down the path of types, right? So you set these default properties for all of your, a particular type. You can then create multiple templates within that type. And then if you really need to, you can obviously add local properties. That was kind of the easiest way that I've found so far to add a local property. I'm sure there will be other easier ways down the line as the team continues to work on the interface and different UX elements of this update. But that's kind of local properties in a nutshell there. And then the last one, actually, I skipped over this, meant to cover it earlier, but just to make sure it's clear, the layout is also at the type level. So, type properties are at the type level, layout is at the type level, and then multiple templates. So just to show you the layout, you can see here's the different options that you're used to seeing. So if you want to change the layout width for a particular type, again, that's at the type level. So hopefully that makes everything much more clear in terms of the update. It took me a little while to kind of understand the hierarchy here and how things relate to each other. So again, hopefully this is helpful. If not, please leave feedback in the comments. Leave any questions in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them. And looking forward to making the next video. We'll talk to you guys soon.